What is going on, everybody? It is episode 404 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. I can tell that today this episode is going to get saucy.
Really?
Yeah.
You think that? I'm feeling very chill today, so maybe you're going to get saucy, but we'll...
By the way, the green light isn't on.
Is it? That's fine. Yeah, whatever.
You're gonna go
the hell with
switch
it. We're good. We're
Okay.
good. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew Tate did an interview with Tucker Carlson in which it has got the mainstream media quite upset, which is not hard to believe. Mary's got some strong critiques of Andrew Tate. I've got strong critiques.
Well, don't make me the bad guy here.
Well, it's, we've got stuff to show. We're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about why. I want to talk about why it is that the media could critique him more earnestly and actually get more people on their side, because we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the fact that Sound of Freedom is having evacuations on at the theaters from AMC, and the AMC CEO has responded to that. And given that the claims against Andrew Tate run parallel in many ways, not 110% of the way, but in many ways to what happened in Sound of Freedom. Obviously, they're different things, but they're in the same ballpark. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Simu Liu working very hard to make you not want to go see Barbie with this insufferable interview that nobody in their right mind would actually want to see after this. So I recommend not watching
the
it.
view count on it was crazy low.
Yeah.
It was from Screen Rant, and the view count was in like the 200 range, and it had been posted hours ago.
Yeah.
And you can just tell that like all of these media outlets, AstroTurf, celebrities so hard. Like this interview was booked because they couldn't get Margot Robbie, because they couldn't get Ryan Gosling or anyone of note.
Well, if you're excited for Barbie, I recommend not going and watching this interview because it's going to tank your interest in going to see it. Most of these actors have worked overtime to tank your interest in going and seeing Barbie by making it into a bunch of feminist gobbledygook, a bunch of nothing or other that nobody actually wants to hear about when they just want to go watch a fun movie at the theaters. And speaking of a fun movie at the theaters, we have a review for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. We went last night. It was a lot of fun, so we will get into it. We got a bunch of other stuff. If you're ready, we will just go for it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do this. All right, first things first, we got some casting updates from Superman Legacy. James Gunn has casted Isabella Merced, Eddie Gathegi, and Nathan Fillion. I'm actually excited about this one because Eddie Gathegi, and I assume that's how you pronounce his last name, but I'm not 100% sure. He was great in The Blacklist, and The Blacklist, very short-lived Blacklist Redemption. He also played a Mormon on House Season 4. It was really, really, really good. He's a great actor, so I'm excited to see that. But Isabella Merced is being cast as Hawk Girl. She's 22 years old. She was in Transformers the last night. I literally have no recollection. I saw Transformers last night. I have no recollection of it whatsoever. I think that's the one where Anthony Hopkins was in it very clearly just looking to get a paycheck. If I remember correctly. She's also Dora. She's going to be in the upcoming Madam Web
Wait,
Spider-Man
she was the
spinoff.
live action Dora?
I don't know if she would. No, it just says that she was in it. I don't know if she played Dora.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, she's going to be cast as Hawk Girl, which is very, very cool. We'll see how that goes. And then we've also got this one down here. Eddie Gathegi will be Mr. Terrific, which is very cool. Mr. Terrific, I don't know what they've done live action with Mr. Terrific other than Arrow, but maybe they did it in Smallville. But Eddie Gathegi is a great actor, so it's very, very cool to see that. And then Nathan Fillion will be playing Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, which is right up the alley. It says the 52-year-old Nathan Fillion is said to be playing Green Lantern Guy Gardner, who was previously played by the 38-year-old Finn Wittrock. That was in the canceled HBO Max series that they never ended up following through on. And it's really good because they're saying the Guy Gardner it'll be a goofy version. Nathan Fillion is a comedic actor with great timing. We'll see where it goes, but those are all casting choices that I find really, really, really good. So that's not too bad considering we've got the casting of Rachel Brosnahan and the casting of Corn Sweat, which I will never get tired of saying, I am sure. Did you end up seeing those pictures of him where they posted the pictures of him with the huge bulge?
Yeah, there were a lot of gay men posting about these paparazzi photos where he was on the beach and like zooming in on certain places. And I don't know. I feel like that shouldn't be the focus of Superman.
Of Superman, but yeah.
Whatever.
It's where they went with it, and that's what it was. So we'll see what happens with it. But those are some very, very good casting announcements. Those are good actors that they found. At least Eddie Gathegi and Nathan Fillion. I'm not really familiar. Like I said, I don't even remember Transformers the last night. It's been that long. So we'll see. Also, guys, Elseworlds Superman from J.J. Abrams and Ta-Nehisi Coates is said to be canceled. Now, there's no official word on this, but it would be a good thing if it was, if they ended up canceling this. I just don't see the reason to go forward with it, considering the fact that they're trying to reboot everything and hopefully take things in a direction that will unify the fandom, and I don't think that will happen.
One of these accounts, Cosmic Book News, said, I think it was asked a while ago, I was told last year at Comic-Con, so it's been canceled for a while now.
Every time we've covered this, somebody then comes and says, no, it's still happening. This is just another update in that kind of ridiculously long road that this movie's been on, where is it happening, is it not happening? We'll see. So, but it's also funny too, because J.J. Abrams got a ton of money from Warner Brothers to make movies, and I don't know if any of them ever came out. So they're just like, here's like $500 million, and he's like, okay, and he's just like,
ultimate grift.
He just walks away with it. I like that idea. All right, guys. Oh, also PewDiePie.
PewDiePie just had his baby Bjorn.
Are you excited?
It's funny because you can put Bjorn in a baby Bjorn.
Yes.
You know?
So it's very cute. There's the picture right there. They posted it themselves. Probably could have
I know
sold...
BG Cumby would be proud.
Very, very much so. Also, would they have been able to sell these to a tabloid for a ton of money?
Probably, but he's kind of above that at this point. He's semi-retired.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that once they start taking care of this kid, he's going to be posting less on social media and less on YouTube than he already does, which is already very little.
Yeah, it's adorable. It's adorable.
I want them to become more like family vloggers, but not the evil demonic kind, the wholesome kind. You know what I mean? Is that possible?
Okay, I need you to tell me, what is the difference between an evil demonic family blogger and a wholesome family blogger?
Stay away from the Daddy-O5 archetype where you scream at your children and emotionally abuse them for content.
Okay.
More so go for the like day at the park or something like that. I also, like, they didn't blur their kid's face here.
I was wondering
I
about
always
that.
find it weird when people blur the faces of their very young babies because they don't have defining facial features yet. I mean, I understand if you're still trying to like shield them from whoever might be like making mean comments about them, about your kid on social media. I get that. Like, but when Mark Zuckerberg did the same thing, people found it weird. He blurred his older kids' faces, but not his baby's face.
Because the face isn't developed yet.
Because the face is just
a baby.
the face of every Gerber baby
it's just
you
a
can
baby.
imagine. And the baby is really cute, to be honest. I didn't know a lizard I didn't know a half lizard baby could be cute.
There's something unbelievably like mechanical and reptilian about knowing the fact that not blurring the baby's face is okay, because it's going to, like, a normal person emotionally reacts and just blurs the baby's face because it's the baby. He's just like, does not compute, does not matter.
Yeah.
Do not have to blur baby's face.
I don't
baby's
think you
face
can
will
do
change.
facial recognition on babies.
Yeah, like there's just something unbelievably computerist of that. So I love it. And I hope he has more to come and that he enjoys semi-retirement. It's got to be nice.
Get that to replacement rate, dude. Sweden is not at replacement rate right now.
Are they below?
Neither is Italy, I bet.
I thought we were under now too here in
America.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we got to get
pretty much all Western nations are.
We as a Western nation got to get on that. We got to work on that. All right. And in disgusting news, ladies and gentlemen, I shared this with people yesterday, and they told me, they said, no, that can't be real. Yes, in Thailand, you can get a 20-slice cheese burger from Burger King.
It's literally just stacked up Kraft singles melted, not even fully melted, on two buns.
Absolutely.
It's disgusting.
It's absolutely disgusting.
Just get a grilled cheese, you weirdos. I'm pretty sure this is because there's a large population of vegetarians and vegans for religious reasons.
But you can't, but this wouldn't be vegan.
It's the same way. I know it's vegetarian. But
vegetarian.
But they already have the Filet-O-Fish. Like, what are you complaining about? Anyway, I know there are similar menu items in India too. They have like something weird at McDonald's in India that's like a vegetable puff pastry thing.
It sounds horrible.
I don't even know. It looks like a Hot Pocket with a bunch of cheese and vegetables in it, it might be good.
And
but
it's ruining it.
it doesn't
for me
scream McDonald's to me. It's not giving big and tasty.
I am a staunch Burger King defender most of the time. So like a lot of times,
is an exception.
When people are trashing on Burger King, I come in, I swoop in, and I'm here to stand.
This is what they gave
unapologetically
people at Fyre
stand,
Fest.
and then
This is literally what they gave people at Fyre Fest. They were like, "I hope you're happy."
It would be hilarious if now, because remember that guy's out of jail and they're doing Fyre Fest 2 Electric Boogaloo. What if they partnered with Burger King for Fyre Fest 2 and they served nothing but the Burger King Thailand hold the meat 20 slice of cheese burger?
Thanks, I hate it.
That's exactly what it is. And as a staunch Burger King defender, I'm a little bit insulted
You shouldn't
that they're...
be a Burger King defender. Every day I wake up and I wonder, why is Burger King still in business? Who goes there?
Me.
Same thing with Arby's. It's like,
I'm an Arby's.
goes there?
Well, you go to Arby's for the rings, the curly fries. You go to Arby's for curly fries, nothing else.
I guess.
That's the whole reason to go
I
there.
didn't remember them being that good.
I've
I've been to Arby's maybe once in my life, and I can count under 10 times I've been to Burger King, and all were disappointments.
I will say this. Recently, I used to be one of those people that said McDonald's fries are overrated. I recently went through a McDonald's drive-thru, and I don't eat a lot of fast food these days. It was like one of those things. Like I made that when I started driving again. I was like, don't just start going and getting fast food. I got McDonald's French fries recently, and I was like, oh, I forgot. When they're good, they're very good.
But they need to start frying them with beef tallow again.
I don't know what that means.
They used to fry all of their food in beef tallow instead of vegetable oil, and now it's all just seed oil laden crap.
Yeah.
I mean, I still eat it, to be honest, but it probably tasted better and was healthier for you when they fried it in beef tallow.
And I don't hate Arby's either. I don't. I'll admit it.
I guess I don't hate Arby's. I just don't understand why that would be your choice of all the options, the endless options you have. Why would you go there? Taco Bell is forever, to me, probably the best fast food restaurant.
And the other thing about Burger King is, you know what? Actually, I know why they're still around. It's that one advertising at the end of in the middle of Iron Man, where Tony Stark gets back from being held captive in the Middle East and decides of all the places that he's gonna go eat, he goes and eats at frickin' Burger King. Maybe we shouldn't have trusted Tony Stark.
I think, on another note, before we get into the Mission Impossible review later. I know that I am not the person to watch those movies because the whole time I was thinking, like, maybe I was just tired, but I was just thinking, when is he gonna take a nap? Because if this were me, I'd be taking a nap right now. He's literally on the run for over 72 hours, right?
Well, yeah, he's got Tom Cruise energy. So
how is this possible without drugs?
He's got Tom Cruise energy. It's like Kenergy, but cooler and actually masculine.
Yeah.
People keep talking about Kenergy for Barbie.
I guess so.
What it
I was
is
just like yawning nonstop while watching the movie, and not because I was necessarily bored, but I was like, damn, how is he doing this? I would be sleeping.
The movie is so good, ladies and gentlemen. I can't stress it enough. It's amazing.
Instantly, if I were Tom Cruise, I would get caught.
You're like, I'm on the train and I just need to take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's
superhuman capabilities, but it's not supposed to be super realistic, so whatever.
It's fantastic. All right, guys. Britney Spears has decided to come out and she wants a public apology from Victor Wembanyama's security. This video's, I'm not gonna lie, this is a little bit haughty and privileged.
Let's play it.
Let's play it. Here we go. Start from the beginning. Hold, please.
Hi, so I wanted to share with you guys an incident that happened in Vegas that a lot of people
Her
are
voice
talking
also
about.
sounds destroyed.
And I heard on the news this radio station talking smack and talking shit. That's why I'm addressing it.
She's clapping back at the haters.
She just sounds like an 18-year-old with like smoker's lung.
Yeah.
I deserve to be smacked. Security was doing their job and protecting their client. I've been with the most famous people in the world. In sync at one time, girls would like literally throw themselves at them. On my way into the place, actually, I was knocked down by like 3 12-year-olds trying to get my picture.
Rabid 12-year-olds. They're out to get you.
My security not one time touched them or even came near them.
I don't know if I buy that. Do you buy that? Do you buy that rabid little people?
I mean, they are just 12-year-old girls. They can't do that much damage.
Yeah,
but
they
once
can.
they get into a pack, it's sort of like rabid chihuahuas. Like they can kill you.
So we were talking recently about broadcast boys. I was like, those guys are great. They were asking baseball players during the All-Star game. They're like, could you throw a no-hitter against a team of 8-year-olds? And the guy's like, yeah, like it's like what's the question they always ask? Would you rather fight 100 1-year-olds or 100-year-old or something like that? Like when you put them in a pack, they're very dangerous.
I know that 1-year-olds are surprisingly strong for their size.
There you go.
I'd probably go for the 100-year-old fight.
Finish
the video. She's asking for an apology.
She wants an apology.
Point being is, I didn't appreciate the people saying that I deserve to be hit, because no woman ever deserves to be hit. I simply
The fact that she gendered it is stupid. Sorry.
tapped him on the back and I was backhanded, hit my face, came back on the floor. My best friend picked me up and held me. And I did get an apology at my table 30 minutes later, but I've yet to receive a public apology.
That is super entitled. That is unbelievably entitled. Also, what she's saying is like, if you're a guy and you get slapped by Victor Wembanyama's security, tough rocks, dude. Guess you deserve to get hit.
Look, I'm still with the broadcast boys on this one. Give Brittany her flowers. She deserves it.
And her respect.
Don't go backhanding her. This is America.
No, I'm team Wembanyama security now, boys.
But I mean, don't act like women never deserve to get hit. If you're instigating violence, then you should get hit back.
As Bill Burr said, he said, I could wake from a drunken stupor and give you 9 reasons to hit a woman. You just don't do it.
But
you just don't do it.
I just know she got into a fight with her husband because he didn't step in.
Oh, yeah.
In the altercation.
She's like, you're just going to let them slap me like that?
She said it was her friend that helped her up.
Yep.
What was Sam Asghari doing?
He's on his phone taking modeling gigs.
Yeah, you just can't trust a guy who's like that good looking.
I'll say this. Give Brittany her flowers and her respect, but be willing to call her out when she makes it a gendered issue, and when she says what the private apology wasn't enough. The private apology was made public, so for all intents and purposes, it is a public apology.
By the way, her memoir is coming out. Finally, the paper shortage is over. They were able to print it, and it's called The Woman in Me. It's coming out in October, and on the cover, it's weird. They chose like a younger photo of her topless, which supposedly would be the image she's trying to get away from, right? At this stage in her life.
I don't think so. I think she's embracing it fully.
I'm guessing it was 99% ghostwritten.
Yes.
If not entirely ghostwritten.
I think she's embracing it still. Half her videos she posts are her half naked. She's not trying to get away from that image.
It just seems like undignified. And she still like has this baby voice that she uses. I think she's just still mentally stuck at 18.
That's probably from being abused and taken advantage of for years, unfortunately, which is a horrible reality of for somebody in that
So maybe
situation.
she deserves to be a little bit entitled.
No.
After all that, after going through all that trauma.
No, the gazillions of dollars even it out. Sorry, we're back to zero here. Sorry, if I'm maybe I'm the bad guy here.
It
cancels out. Like I'm just saying, like you can't make it a gendered issue and then be like, I want a public apology too. Like you got to no normal person.
Well, the guy isn't a public figure. He's just a security guard. But it would make sense if he were a public figure, maybe.
Even then, no. You deserve a private apology. Sorry, you don't get to also compel their speech into the public forum. If it was actually about the apology, you wouldn't care whether it was private or public. If it's about humiliation, it's about making it public. Mm-hmm. Then it's about making somebody do what you want, which is authoritarian, and I don't want authoritarian Britney Spears in my life.
Brett has the claws out and has a strong opinion on something.
And it's Britney Spears' desire for a public apology from some poor schmuck security guard just doing his job.
Whatever you
just
say,
doing
Brett.
his job. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what would you like first, cringe or cute?
Let's go with cute first, then cringe.
We got a cute of the day here, ladies and gentlemen. We got this one here from Aman on Twitter. Says, this is Mr. Weenie. He's a little aggressive with strangers, but super sweet with me. He also likes fighting the Doberman.
I hope he doesn't bitch slap strangers when they tap him on
That
the
is an
shoulder.
amazing photo, right?
Mr. Weenie.
That looks like he's taking a selfie.
He's looking on him.
Have you seen those the TikTok trend that they were doing for a while, where it's like a really cute girl and she's like looking in the mirror? It's like me when I look at myself in the mirror and I think I look cute and I decide to take a picture, and then they show her like trying to take the picture and it makes a filter to make their chin all droopy and they look all gross.
Yeah.
Because your camera always makes you look worse than it is.
This is me when I open the front cam.
Yes, exactly. Oh, how does it get down?
Oh.
Just up there. Adorable. Adorable. All right, Mary, tell us about Rina Sawayama.
Yeah.
She's back.
So you guys might remember she called out Matty Healy on stage at a concert a couple of weeks ago and said that he owns her masters and she's had enough of his
It was the worst.
bigotry.
It was the worst thing ever, guys.
Called him out for watching ghetto gaggers, etc.
Sorry.
And now there's a new clip of her going off on stage, appearing to call him out once again.
Maybe her problem wasn't that he was watching porn, it was that he was watching the wrong type of porn. She's offended by his choice in porn.
Let's take a look.
All
at
right.
the video.
We got the one from, oh, hold on.
What do I do?
Not that one, ladies and gentlemen. We got this one right here.
Yeah.
Just saying some So I've been thinking a lot about apologies. And is it funny how some people get away with not apologizing ever
Why is it always to this song?
for saying some racist
And
shit,
that guy should just be embarrassed. I'm sorry. That guy should be.
for saying some sexist
Yes,
shit?
queen!
So let's try this. Why don't you apologize for once in your life without making it about your fucking self?
She says as she makes everything about herself.
So initially, I actually thought this was subtweeting Colleen Ballinger. I thought this was about Miranda Singh's
She's like,
ukulele
well,
apology.
your ukulele video was bad. Don't do it.
But she didn't. I don't think she said anything that was racist or sexist. She was just being weird to kids. So this was actually about Matty Healy.
Yep.
If this were at Miranda Singh's, I might support it.
Yeah, she's I just
But
using that
yeah,
song.
this tweet said in 1992, Rage Against the Machine, F you, I won't do what you tell me. In 2023, Rina Sawayama, say sorry for making that mean and offensive microaggressive joke.
I don't like your microaggressions. They're very, very mean.
This is what rock and roll is now.
She's like, but you can go ahead and she's like, but I don't mind it when they are really, really mean to me, unless it's at colleges when they're now stopping you from getting into university here in the United States. So it's she's not American, is she? She's British.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a bit ridiculous and it's a bit stupid, but it's
She's got an insufferable personality, but is talented, which is kind of a worse combination than if we could just write her off as a whole. Because you're just distracting from why people like you.
yeah, it's very annoying. It's like it's like, could you just do the music?
And people like Matty Healy because he doesn't apologize for anything.
And to be fair, like I mean, she's playing to her own audience, they say down here, somebody says, I don't know who she's talking about, but go Rena.
It's like the meme that's like, white women can do the most monstrous shit, and then their gays will be like, slay queen.
Yep.
It's that.
Yep. All right. You had another one here that you sent me. This one.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Oh my god, what do I do? Nicole, you need to spit back
Oh my god.
What do I do? It's not stopping. I don't. What do I do with it?
That's what she said. I've actually got a story here because I used to manage a gas station.
Did this happen?
So this would actually happen, not to this extent, but so when you put it in the tank, right, and you lock it into place so that it will pump automatically and you don't have to hold it down.
Yeah.
What people don't realize is if you live someplace cold like Minnesota, that button can lock or freeze. and it will just overflow your tank. So what would happen is people would go inside to try to save the 8 extra seconds it would take them to just, the 3 extra minutes it would take them to finish pumping, then go inside and buy the stuff. So they'd pay at the pump, leave it pumping, come in to buy something else, trying to do 2 things at once, not realizing that the pump would then, it would just overflow their gas tank and turn the whole area into a hazmat fire hazard. And then the worst part is then they'd be mad because we would be like, they'd be like, we want our money back for the gas that this wasted. But it says very clearly on the pump, do not leave your car unattended while pumping gas. And then I'd have to be like, sorry, I can't help you, bro. Like, not my problem.
Well,
like,
I'm glad that we're not in somewhere as cold as Minnesota. But she's literally covered in gasoline.
Yeah, like I do love that. Is a look of kind of like bemused defeat. Like she's like,
she thinks it's funny. She's like waving it around like a hose.
She's not only is it also a fire hazard, but couldn't this have happened during Trump's economy when it would have just costed half the price it costed here to waste that much gas? But assuming she's got the money,
like $300.
Yeah, that's a very expensive trip to the gas station. It's already an expensive trip to the gas station, and now she's got to go home and explain why she has a gazillion dollars worth of gas on her card and why the local gas station has yellow tape up around it while they have to put down, because there's like a thing you have to, like, it's like a salt, or not salt, it's like a gravel type substance you have to put down to clean it up. So yeah, not good, good for her. Very, very unsafe. So hopefully she's recovering from the bill that would have costed. And then of course people mentioned the harmless gasoline fight from Zoolander. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe she just got done watching Zoolander for the first time, and she wanted to be a male model having a harmless gasoline fight. Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. All right. Before we get started, guys, would you hit the like button on this video? Would you subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? And remember, all Super Chats, $20 and over, we will interrupt the discussion. We will read them right then and there, and then my very, very addled brain will try to get us right back on topic right as we go. So if you're ready, Mary, tell us about Andrew Tate, Tucker Carlson on Tucker on Twitter, and all that happened.
So Tucker Carlson just did a 2.5-hour long interview with Andrew Tate on his new show that is based solely on Twitter, and it's called Tucker on Twitter. Not the best name in my opinion, given that Twitter could get sold to someone else easily.
We really
I don't know
missed
about
out.
The expiration date of the platform.
We really missed out on Tucker Carlson takes during the Tucker stuff, like the Tuck stuff for Target during Pride Month.
Yeah.
We really missed out on some fantastic takes.
I watched the whole thing. I can't believe I actually did. How much of it did you watch, Brett?
About half.
Okay. Yeah. So.
And the clips that various people, like Benny Johnson posted a bunch of clips from it. Various people, they posted their takes from different parts of the. So probably more if you cumulatively count the clips that I watched after the fact.
It's got a lot of views so far, and Elon Musk has reposted it. I think before we get into any of the serious stuff, let's start with the fun stuff. So I wanted to remark on, like, Tucker is just absolutely in love with Andrew Tate. Like,
oh, like he looks like he's found his new life partner. It was awesome. It was hilarious.
He was eating it up, and they were like bonding over their mutual love of nicotine and caffeine. I know Tucker is definitely into the Zins.
I love the boat shoes.
And they're both wearing boat shoes with no socks. They're kind of twinning.
They're not boat shoes. They're loafers. They're both wearing. It's very, very rich guy to be wearing the loafers with no.
And
no
I assume
socks.
that they're doing this in Andrew Tate's house while he's still on house arrest. So Tucker flew all the way to Romania to do this.
Must be nice.
And then he also, during this interview, called out Adam 22 for cucking with his wife, Lena the Plug, who just did her first porn scene with another man other than her husband. And Adam 22 has just been making a complete fool of himself.
I think we can play
trying
that.
to be in on the joke.
I think we can play that clip because it's on Twitter. So here we go.
No. There's a guy called Adam 22. Once again, I have no idea who this man is. I just saw on Twitter yesterday that he was with a porn star who'd never done a male scene. They got married, and like a week after their marriage, she did her first male scene with some random dude. And he's on a podcast defending it.
Did his wife had sex with somebody else?
Correct. Why? Like, This is the level you can. But this is what the Matrix wants from you as a man. They want the woman in charge, and the man below with no backbone. Because if the woman's in charge, they can emotionally affect her. They can scare her. You can scare a woman easier than you can scare a man. A man. A real man's hard to scare. A woman you can make afraid of the vaccine, right? Be afraid. COVID. Be scared. If she's in charge of the household, I would argue in nearly any household where the female was dominant, everyone's vaccinated.
I had a friend who was telling me how basically in his house he had when he decided not to get vaccinated, he basically said like he had to give her an explanation as to why. Like she's like and he had to show her all the research, all of the information. He didn't just do it on a whim. He did a endless amount of research as to why he's choosing not to get vaccinated. He shared that with her. So he's right.
But to some people, the facts don't matter. Like, you can show them any amount of facts and studies and they're still going to be dogmatically allegiant to whatever it is that the media has told them to believe. But that has nothing to do with the Adam 22 situation. I think, okay, it's a little bit more complicated than that in reality, because I believe that Adam 22 has kind of pressured her into continuing to do porn, even though they're in no position where they have to do anything like that. Even after having a kid, it's just very weird, and I can't imagine what that kid is going to go through, like, seeing that these are the people that have raised them. But now she, I think, is like trying to turn the tables on him and make it more fair, and kind of, it's like shit, it's a shit test, it's a dare. It's like, I don't know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's like, well, you're not going to protect me, so I'm just going to belong to anyone else other than you.
I disagree in a lot of respects. I think that the degeneracy is just so heavily embedded in our culture right now that they don't even think of it that deeply. Like, that's just who they are.
But on a more subconscious level.
Yeah. Perhaps like if you're saying like she's not like she without even thinking about it, that's just how she viscerally reacts to it.
Adam
I think
22 has for the longest time filmed scenes with other women.
Yeah. Which is why, so to be fair,
and if she on a subconscious level doesn't approve of that and is bothered by that, which she should be because this is the father of her child and her husband, then it's the visceral reaction is to just turn the tables on him and try to take the power back in that dynamic. And it's
then
very
why get married at all?
I know, why get married at all if you don't believe that marriage means anything or that there's any monogamy or exclusivity in
I think a lot of times, especially whether it's the political space around here or the social space of people who talk for a living, you have this tendency because you have to go search out meaning and motive for people who do things. I think we just live in a culture right now where a lot of people are on autopilot and just go with whatever the culture tells them is okay. And if that's their bag, that's what they want, then I guess that's... And then you've got people...
It's so ridiculous because Adam 22 would be like, oh, well, if she went and had sex with some other guy, then that would be cheating. That would be wrong. But as long as you film it, then that's okay, sweetie. Stamp of approval.
It's like the meme. It's like you get arrested for prostitution, and you're like, but we're filming it, and so now it's just porn.
It's insane.
No, I think a lot of it with people like that, it's not so deep. It really is that like we just live in a culture where we've degenerated all of our ideas of relationships, commitment, and how we see the opposite sex down to everyone should be able to do what they want. You should never feel ashamed of any type of urge or desire. You should, not only that, but you should act on it, because if you don't act on it, you're being oppressed or prevented in some fashion. We really just want to have our cake and eat it too. Yeah. And I think that his relationship and the relationship of anyone in that world that, you or I may not really understand because we don't live that life, it really doesn't come down to anything so deep. It's just they choose to live differently than you. And I don't know if it's so much that they think about it that heavily. It's just how they live their lives.
I think all of that I'm talking about is on the subconscious level. But Andrew Tate talked about masculinity and the broken dynamic between the sexes quite a lot in this interview. Here's some quotes from it. He said, "You could have a pretty good life if you just followed the rules. I don't think that's true anymore." He's talking about like in days past. He said, "Men in the current time who do what they're told are likely to end up depressed, in debt, working a job that you hate, with a wife who doesn't respect you, with kids who don't listen to you." He claimed powerful societal forces do not care about masculine happiness, and he claims that
he's right about that.
Yeah, men are naturally going to have mental health issues if they have no pride, which he claims is inherent to being a man.
The issue that I have with he points out that in the UK, Britain always talks about men's mental health. Men's sewer slide rates are much higher than women's, but that's because what he's suggesting, and again, whatever your judgments are and whether he's guilty of the crimes, I'm just talking about the advice he's given. He gives you, for the most part, in his tamest advice, a non-medicinal, non-therapeutic way of bettering your life, and that goes against everything that mainstream press and government wants you to do. They want you medicated, they want you in therapy, they want you subservient. So he's not wrong about that.
The proposed solution to the mental health crisis among men now is that men should just be more open with their feelings and they should cry a lot.
Well, what if you're Jonah Hill and then she shares it on the internet?
Right. Well, they're projecting women's, I guess, mental health and emotionality onto men when that's not their experience. That's not the way that they think. And they think any emotion is acceptable for men except for anger. Especially righteous anger. If you're angry about something that's unjust, that's an emotion that's totally out of bounds for their, framework. And if you're not addressing men's anger, you're not going to solve the mental health crisis that they're facing. So he talked a lot about that in the interview. I agreed with a lot of the things that he said in the interview, but at the same time, I could tell that because he's so media trained, he's very capable at making his opinions palatable to the person he's talking to and to the people that he knows will be watching Tucker Carlson. So everything he's saying to Tucker Carlson is like stuff that Tucker is going to be hooing and hawing at and like approving of. And Tucker is like eating it up, not realizing that, Andrew Tate has more interesting and controversial opinions than any of the ones that he was really saying on this podcast. Like, I'm sorry, you have more interesting things to say and put on the table than like, aren't these neo pronouns crazy, Tuck? Aren't these Z-zer pronouns insane?
Those attack helicopters, I tell you.
Like, I know Andrew Tate has more interesting things to say than boilerplate Fox News talking points. And that's kind of what he was sticking to in this interview. And it wasn't as interesting
Tucker Carlson
as it
out of the
been.
Fox News, but you can't take the Fox News out of the Tucker Carlson.
Exactly. And I don't, I agree with a lot of things that he said in the interview and a lot of things he said in general, but I don't.
It's his generalities that are always the most palatable.
Sure. I don't listen to Andrew Tate interviews because I believe in his personal holiness as an individual. And I don't think that his fans should either. But if you're taking everything this guy says as gospel, you're going down the wrong path. Because like he contradicts himself all the time. And that's where I wanted to get into the more serious stuff. Toward the beginning of the interview, they did talk about his detainment in Romania, the investigation, and the charges that Romanian prosecutors have put up against him on June 30th. And he summarized the charges in a way that omitted a lot of the facts and didn't accurately portray what he's getting accused of. He said that this is he's getting accused of human trafficking by setting up women with TikTok accounts and stealing the money that they made off of TikToks. And this is also what Tristan Tate said in the stream that they did on Rumble somewhat recently. And it's not the whole truth. It's not even close to scratching the surface of what he was accused of. The actual charges, if you go to the DICOT website for Romania and then you like Google Translate into English what they have accused him of, the charges include R-word, human trafficking and forming organized crime group, and money laundering. There are a couple of other charges as well. It's really hard to get information about this. First of all, because the mainstream media is so bad at reporting on Andrew Tate, because they're so lazy and the turnaround time for news is so fast that they don't even do the proper work to look into what's going on. They just say, he's been charged with human trafficking and here's some bullet point quotes of misogynistic things that he's said in his YouTube videos before and hit publish. But the YouTubers, weirdly enough, are doing the actual investigative work that mainstream journalists are not willing to do. And they found that, you know, he's actually omitting a lot of the truth about what this case is brought up against him. So, first of all, the prosecution has posted a lot of screenshots of private conversations between him and his the other two Romanian nationals who were charged in this, and his brother, and some of the women who were working for this cam site. The reality of the situation is that the cam site that he started, it was a fake company, and it evolved over time to be the employees were running OnlyFans accounts that were connected to TikTok accounts. They made TikToks that promoted their OnlyFans, and he would take a cut of the OnlyFans money. The cut was 70%, and they got 30%. And he's admitted on video to taking that 70% cut and lying to the girls, saying that he needed to take more than 50% because of taxes, and then evading the taxes so that he would tell them that they're getting their fair share and they were not. And then also, this is on his archived website, cobratate.com. He did, in fact, admit to doing the so-called lover boy method of telling these women, like, we're going to be married, we're going to have children, we're going to be in some kind of like long-term committed relationship if you work for me, if you do this campsite, if you do the OnlyFans with these other girls that work for me. And he was using this to instruct other men on what to do, which is weird, right? Like, I don't think anybody else has attempted to do this, so why would you need to instruct anyone?
Is it against the law to teach people how to commit crimes?
Another thing he added in his explanation of this business model is that you need a so-called bottom bitch or a main bitch that you start off with, another girl that will do the actual work of convincing other women, because she, you know, she lets their guard down.
So like
convincing other
Allison
women.
Mack during the sex cult
Yeah, exactly.
in Hollywood. Yeah,
exactly. So he said that he was dating this woman named Vivian. I don't know if that's her real name, who was the bottom bitch that did this work for him. Mm-hmm. They were together for 6 years, and he said that she was unassuming because she was so young. And she was convincing these women to work for him, downplaying that they were in a long-term relationship to make them think that they were special.
Yeah.
So he said at once in this video clip that this woman was 21, and he said they met and started dating 6 years prior. So
it's kind of like
if you do the math,
it's kind of like Dane Cook with the girl that he just married, and everyone's like looking at the age of like when they started dating. And you're like, ugh.
Yeah. If you do the math, they met and started dating when Vivian was 15 years old. And at 21, when she was 21,
and
that's when he started the cam business and
when
had
was
her work in the cam
when was
business.
this? In what jurisdiction?
They met in Slovakia,
Okay.
and he had her move in with him when he was still living in the UK, I believe. Yep. But even then, she was not an adult at the time, and he was 26, I believe, when they met. So he basically admitted on video to dating an underage girl, so that doesn't look good for him, and admitted to tax evasion on video.
Yep.
And yeah, he also, there are issues with the timeline of things where he contradicts himself, and Tristan does as well.
About when they shut down the campsite.
When they started and when they shut down the campsite. Yep. Or this like fake business, as he called it. So they're saying in other interviews it's 10 plus years ago. In other interviews it's 6 years ago. In other interviews he says it's 4 years ago. And as late as 2020, he even said on video that there were still a few women working for him in this manner.
Yep.
So that seems like at least an omission of truth, if not an outright lie.
At the end of the day, for me, the hardest part is that when people hear human trafficking, they think of somebody being sold into sex slavery, a la what we're talking about with Sound of Freedom. And for a lot of this, what it comes down to is that these women were duped but made choices of their own volition to do this, which is very hard for a lot of people to muster up the same anger for whatever, right or wrong.
It's literally a lesser crime to traffic an adult than a child, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to downplay at all that these women still made the full choice to do
what they wanted. Yeah, they made their decisions. They're adults.
In at least in his explanation, because they believed that they would get his favor and be in an exclusive relationship with him. And I don't even know to the extent that that's true. But there are literally leaked text messages between girls who worked for him talking about how they were going to each convince him that they were madly in love with him so that they could get extra privileges over the other girls and be allowed to, you know, go out, leave the compound in Romania, have more freedoms. And they were joking about this, saying they're such good actresses that they should get a Netflix show or something. And that quote was like misconstrued massively, that they were making everything up. Yeah. They were just joking that we're going to convince him so well that we're madly in love with him that he's going to let us leave the house.
Yeah. The hard part is still always going to be that people are gonna be like, look, these women made the choice to do this, so it's hard part for people to buy into this. Do we want to show the clip?
We should. Yeah, I'm referring to a lot of clips, but I highly recommend that if you guys are interested in learning about this, to watch the Willie Mack show's 2 recent videos about Andrew Tate that came from 2 weeks ago and 11 days ago.
All right, here we go.
Work for him.
So the recruitment process is the same as the PhD course. You message them on Instagram. I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it and shit, it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not gonna work. If she passes the PhD test and she wants to be with you.
This is the PhD test, by the way.
And this is the test. A quality woman, after you sleep with her, when your attention drops, will do anything it takes to get your attention back up, to retain you as a man. So a quality woman will bend her normal rules. A girl who would perhaps never buy you coffee is now prepared to do something for you, will bend her normal rules to get your attention back post-sex. If she passes
I'm now going to ask every girl I ever meet, will you please buy me a coffee? Just to see what happens. Just to see what happens, you know.
PhD test and she wants to be with you. Then you start mentioning things like, yeah, but you know, you're always busy, you're always at work, you can come work for me. She has to respect you and love you and want to work with you. And that's done through positively inspirational and motivating person.
He was very open about doing all of this on his
there's more though
keep
that
going?
we need to show.
course, which was on his website.
Again, you guys should go watch. I don't know if this dude's gonna copyright us.
By the way, Andrew Tate's website, cobratate.com, where he had all of this listed out, is now not available on the Internet Archive. And I don't know if you can presume that he did something to scrub that from the archive or what happened, but this was the same website that was linked at the end of all of his old videos.
Yeah. Yep, here we go.
A few dates, sleep with her, test if she's quality, get her to fall in love with me to where she'd do anything I'd say, and then get her on webcam. For fuck's sake, guys, he read, studied, and recommended books on pimping.
I'm gonna send you a book. It's a guy called Pimpin' Ken, who's a street pimp in the 90s, and he wrote a book, 50 Laws of the Game. And one of the laws of the game is a hoe without instruction is headed for destruction.
Now, the Tate's defense has essentially been to just gaslight everybody. They say the webcam business hasn't existed in years. Sometimes it's 6 years.
How about the webcam business?
I'm not even in that. I haven't been in that business for like 6 years.
The Tate News account, which is constantly retweeted by them, says it was 10 years ago. Tristan says it was 4 years ago. Then just last week, Andrew Tate said no, it actually was 10 years ago, even though 10 months earlier, he said it was only 6 years ago.
And that was a past life. You're talking about something that happened 10 years ago.
It was that long ago.
It was about 10 years ago, yeah. It was at the very beginning of it.
It's hands down the most inconsistent story on the internet, where every time I look into it, I discover yet another inconsistency. Here he is saying he's still doing it 3 years ago.
Do you do that still?
I have 3 girls who still work for me.
The fact is, the webcam business does exist. It still exists. They just don't have the girls' webcam anymore. Instead, they use a combination of TikTok and OnlyFans. But don't be fooled, the business model remains the same. That business model being extract as much money out of simps as possible.
I'd pull in, let's say, $3 grand a day, $4 grand a day.
Yeah, I'm teaching guys how to run OnlyFans companies because OnlyFans is the best hustle in the world.
This is from 2020. Saying their webcam business doesn't exist anymore is a technicality. They're still doing it, just in a more modern way.
That means that the cam site itself, was shut down, but the business, or at least the front of a business, was not shut down, at least as late as 2020.
Yeah.
And I wanted to also point this out. I don't know if you guys care whether Andrew Tate is a hypocrite or not.
There's a fair point here.
But
can an individual get something removed from an internet archive? I don't think that's possible.
I don't know why. I don't know why it's been scrubbed from the Internet Archive, or if anyone did that, or why it's not available anymore. But it was, and it was screenshotted by a lot of people, and it's a real quote from the website. And I wanted to point out that in this Tucker interview, Tucker asks Andrew Tate, "What do you think about porn?" And he universally condemns it, says that it's destructive to men, it's destructive to relationships, it's destroying, it's at least one of the factors that is destroying the relations between the sexes right now, and why people aren't in relationships, and that men are turning to porn because they're lonely and feel powerless and weak, and that they need to step up and be better. He's condemning porn, but at the same time saying that he has, built his wealth in order to be anti-fragile against the Matrix, and he built that wealth off of porn. It doesn't make much sense to me, and it's hypocritical. I don't know if you guys care whether Andrew Tate is a hypocrite or not, because, you can enjoy an Andrew Tate clip or, find him funny. I find him funny quite a lot often. I agree with him quite often, but don't deny that there aren't some inconsistencies or contradictions here. And another thing, someone in the chat said, wasn't Ghislaine Maxwell the bottom girl in Epstein's operation? That's absolutely true, which is why I can surmise that at least one of the two Romanian nationals that is getting charged, as well as Tristan and Andrew Tate, could possibly be Vivian, the girl that he started dating when she was 15. And those two, I think those two other Romanian nationals that were getting charged were women. And another way that he kind of misconstrued the truth in this interview is that he said the women who were supposedly victims of this cam ring are on his side, and they're saying that they weren't victims. The only ones who are going against the prosecution are the ones who are also getting charged.
Yeah.
So they have an interest in saying that there were no victims.
Yeah.
I don't know. It says there are 7 injured parties. We don't know their identities. But I'm just saying there are a lot of omissions of the truth, and it's 100% deliberate that he's framing it this way, and that he's not telling the whole story. And
you think that Tucker should have pushed back harder?
I don't want to do the thing that people do when Joe Rogan interviews like Alex Jones or something, and they say, you should have pushed back more, you should have whatever. That's irrelevant to me. Like, as Andrew Tate is, giving all of his opinions about society, about cryptocurrency, about men and women and porn and all that, you don't really need to push back on his opinions. That's irrelevant. His opinions can stand to judgment of public opinion, whatever. But you need to push back when it comes to actual facts and recent events that even the mainstream media is not correctly reporting on. And I agree that they're doing a terrible job.
The media is ruining
discrediting themselves and discrediting all criticism of this man. Because, the BBC journalist made an absolute fool of herself. She was like, well, aren't you just a misogynist? And that's why he walked out of the interview. It was a disaster. They don't actually want to do the real investigative work, so it's left up to YouTubers, which is pathetic.
It's because of the news cycle. They have to get the things out fast. They can't afford to wait and do it as an expose because there's less money in that than there is in just pushing out the pieces that are, couched between, it's two half-truths couched between a bunch of fluff and buzzwords that end up doing a disservice to what they're actually trying to expose, which is, unfortunately, that this dude has got a lot of inconsistencies in his story.
And once again, I am going to emphasize this. I am not downplaying at all that the victims of, or supposed victims of this human trafficking scheme, because he hasn't been convicted yet, definitely had a role to play in the position that they ended up in. They absolutely made their own decisions.
There was
and there are a lot of decisions that victims of abuse and R-word make that could have gotten them out of that situation. Totally. And it sounds like victim blaming. I don't really care if you say that. It's a buzzword. Maybe you can call me victim blaming right now. but they definitely made the wrong decisions that got them into this situation. They didn't care about their morals. As he said, these women objected to it. All of them objected to it at first, but they gave in when they thought that they could get his attention and money. And that was on them.
What is it you said?
Not totally on them, but when a crime is done to someone, if you're walking with money hanging out of your pockets in the hood and you get mugged, then you probably shouldn't have been doing that. But that doesn't make mugging not a crime. And you can disagree even with Romanian prosecutors' legal definition of trafficking if you want to. But you can't deny that if all of this is true, it falls under the definition of trafficking. It's force, fraud, and coercion. Those are the conditions to define something as trafficking. And they're claiming that he's using fraud, meaning he told them that they were going to be in a cohabitation or marriage situation. He was going to give them children. And also that he was defrauding them of their money by lying to them that he was taking a fair share of their cut, and instead he was tax evading to do that, which he admitted to on video. And if you want to find that video, go to the Willie Mac Show's videos about this that he recently posted. They're the last 2 videos that he posted on his channel.
All right. Let's go to Super Chats then. Got that?
Disco Jensen said, disappointed there were no 404 not found jokes.
That would have been funny.
I didn't think of that. Hiroshima Otaru said, more race swap BS, lost what little interest I had.
We'll see. I'll wait to say more on
Superman?
I'll wait to say more on Superman until we get a trailer.
The race swaps are just a given at this point.
Yes.
Like, they do race swaps on characters nobody even knew were white at
They already
first.
did that to Hawkgirl and Hawkman
Yeah.
in whatever it was. I already forgot.
In
Black Adam.
Yeah, Black Adam. Austin Brown said, just watch Sound of Freedom. I'm not crying, you're crying. Everyone needs to see and support this.
Agreed. Everyone should go and see this, but they should also go see Top Gun. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. You should go see Top Gun too.
Yeah, I saw a thread that was like talking about Sound of Freedom and saying like, if this is the like Matrix breaking subversive film it is, and it's calling out these elites that are victimizing children, why is it allowed?
It's not doing that. It's telling a single story about an incident that actually happened that's on verifiable record. People are making it out to be more than it is.
You're looking into it a little too deep if you're saying that. Luis Aguilar said, Mary, can we get a Grimace Shake review? I mean, I wish I could have done that with Alex Stein. I know he did a review of the Grimace Shake on IRL.
Oh, I forgot to show this earlier. I was going to show this earlier. By the way, speaking of Sound of Freedom, which we are going to talk about a little bit later, there is the Babylon Bee has released a poster for the Sound of Freedom 2, in which we have Tim Ballard, aka Jim Caviezel, chasing after Andrew Tate. So I'm just saying.
Sketch Therapy said, here. Prince Pi is born. This is how you win the internet. Here. Prince Pi is born. Family is the greatest priority.
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
All right, let's move on. I want to talk about Simu Liu because look, the buzz for Barbie is reaching a fever pitch lately. Twitter seems to be all about it. Everyone was talking about the premieres. They were talking about what everyone was wearing. And it is a unique example where it seems like they're actually making a movie for girls that girls want to see. But what the stars of this movie are saying is, nay, I am here to ruin all the fun. I am here to destroy any excitement or enjoyment you might have for this movie by trying to intellectualize something that may or may not be the case in the actual film, but the producers have done a good job of keeping that out of the promotional material, and the actors are just trying to ruin that by making it more about that. So he says, Simu Liu says, that this film puts the final nail in the coffin of that very heteronormative idea of what gender is. That just makes me want to go watch it. Holy crap.
It's funny because even the fans of Barbie who are excited to see it, who are liberal, hate Simu Liu. Like, he's just universally disliked. Even when he made his appearance on the red carpet for the premiere, they were like, why didn't he do the dress code? Why is he dressed like in blue and everyone else is wearing pink? But here's the quote from his interview. He said, I didn't really have a relationship with Barbie in the past. I don't know about you, but I grew up in a society where traditional gender norms were pretty heavily enforced and pretty prevalent. So I think we were taught from a very young age that boys don't play with that. Boys don't wear pink. You know, colors become gendered, toys become gendered. There were all these rules that were imposed on us. So he continues, Barbie was always like, oh, that's not my toy. That's on the other toy. And I'm so glad that this movie exists because I think it puts the final nail in the coffin of that very heteronormative idea of what gender is and what is or is not gendered. How can you make a color gendered, you know? And he said he's been very liberated by his ability to wear and play with pink over the course of filming the movie.
There was a whole time period in the late 2000s where guys were wearing pink shirts. It was a thing. Shut up. You're annoying. Look, the fact of the matter is they're taking what should be a fun time at the movies, something that should not be politicized, should not be some type of question for the genders, and turning it into something that people are going to be annoyed by. Now, to the credit of the studio, they seem to be... These interviews aren't doing the damage that you could expect them to for other films a lot of times. Like, look, for a lot of times when we were watching, when we were in the lead up to Dial of Destiny, when we were in the lead up to The Flash, I do kind of fall into that camp of like, remember, don't be terminally online. Is anybody actually reading this stuff? Does anybody care? Well, clearly people do, because nobody went to see Dial of Destiny and nobody went to see The Flash. So if you're worried about your actors making your movie look bad, maybe you should not have your B-level actors in your film. I don't see Ryan Gosling out here talking about heteronormative gender roles because he's not an idiot.
I don't see Margot Robbie doing that either, but ultimately this interview was done because Simu is less relevant and it's easier to book him for an interview. And he loves preaching about this kind of stuff, and like he's doing everything he can to sabotage the movie and suck the fun out of what should be just a fun, lighthearted comedy. I wanted to also read this part. He said, it's great to be free and express yourself in all the ways you feel you want to, not to feel like because something is attributed to a certain gender or certain idea that you can't also do that. That's what I think really struck me about being in this movie. What's evolved in my understanding of Barbie and what it is, and what I hope that an audience will get from it when they watch the movie. They don't need to get a commentary or a message from the movie, and that's not what they're looking for. But here's the problem. The problem is not that, you know, boys felt like they couldn't play with Barbies growing up. The problem is that nowadays when boys want to play with Barbies or wear pink, they are told that they are actually girls and are then transported down a pipeline of medicalized, quote-unquote, gender-affirming care. That's why we have our... that's why we are, like, putting up guardrails against this kind of stuff. It's not because any of that stuff is inherently gendered. It's actually his camp that thinks that those things are gendered.
It's I don't know where you end up going with this other than just stop it. Stop making this what your movie's about. To be fair, Greta Gerwig's movie might have deeper implications as far as the script writing goes. I don't think that's fun. I don't think that's interesting. I'm starting to believe that people who are going to this movie because they see a lot of pink and girls get to be girls, I think there's a distinct possibility that it ends up being a disappointment and that it does have a deeper message. I hope it doesn't, but
it doesn't seem like it from all the clips I've seen so far. But another thing he said in this interview is like, it's a miracle we got Mattel to collaborate with us on this and give us their stamp of approval to license Barbie, because we're really, tackling all of the criticisms that Barbie has gotten over the years of it essentially being misogynistic and stereotyping women and, belittling them or whatever. When that's not true. It's done anything but it seems like actually he agrees with all of the criticisms of Barbie.
Yeah, of course he does, because
And
those
if this movie is
criticisms
what
were
he
lobbied.
thinks it is, yeah.
Those criticisms were lobbied by the same people he identifies with, the same people he agrees with. So
Yeah.
it's actually funny when you think about it that way, because it's like you do have those criticisms because you did probably come from a camp that thought that math is hard, Barbie is actually problematic rather than just being something that exists in the
Yeah.
world. Not everything is problematic.
I wanted to see in the movie the 1965 astronaut Barbie talking to the 1993 math class is tough Barbie, and then agreeing, math is tough.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
I'm horrible at math. I'm horrible at math. Look, this movie has done a very good job of marketing itself, and this has got to be one of the more expensive marketing campaigns that I have seen recently.
They
Certainly,
just shouldn't have included people like Simu in it. They shouldn't have included someone like Hari Neff into it.
well, if there was
Or Issa Rae, or any of these, sideline charity case actors who were made into supporting characters.
Charity case Barbie.
Yeah, it's like
Charity
they're
case
charity case Barbies. And I also wanted to mention Simu has allegations of grooming. And I looked into this, and I actually found that on his old Reddit account, he made posts that were suspiciously sympathetic to PDF files. Let me read it here. He posted this in 2015 anonymously on Reddit. His username was Nipped in the Bud. He said, "Hey, I'm a Canadian actor and I thought I'd chime in. I recently did a show in which I played a PDF file and did a significant amount of research, clinical studies, mind you, not the method stuff, on the disorder and how it's perceived in the media. In the end, the role completely changed the way I look at PDF philia and has made me much more sympathetic to anyone who is born with those urges." It's just like being gay, guys. You're just born that way. "From a biological standpoint, it's no different than being gay." Quote, that is something he actually said. "A small mutation in the genome that defines our sexual preferences. Depending on what area of the world you were born in and what time, it may also have been a perfectly acceptable thing to act on those urges. Now we all know that taking advantage of minors is wrong." I'm pretty sure everyone in human history has known that, but maybe you're the exception. He said that with the exception of Germany, we are going about it completely the wrong way. It's like we haven't learned anything by studying homosexuality. We're talking about exploring the same cures to pedophilia as we were about homosexuality 20 years ago, a la conversion therapy and whatnot. As part of my research, I discovered that these people have literally nowhere to run, even non-offending PDF files. They cannot seek treatment in most parts of the world because the therapist or psychiatrist would be legally required to report them. And he said, what we currently know about the disorder is that, like homosexuality, it exists on a spectrum.
Thanks, Bill Nye. This is all your fault.
He essentially makes no distinction between being a PDF file and being gay. He said that we need to continue to talk and write and research about PDF files, and we need to stop stigmatizing them. And he said that he discovered being a PDF file is not so different from being gay, and everyone deserves sympathy, and it's not a black and white issue. For most people, I think it is a black and white issue.
I don't even expect sympathy.
Well, that's just me.
There's a lot of people when the question comes up about whether drug addiction is a mental illness, or is it something that's inherent to you, because it can be passed down through your family, and then they're like, but you have to have sympathy. I'm like, even me as a recovering drug addict never expected sympathy from people. I don't expect anyone who lived my life experience to have any sympathy for me, because why would they? Asking for sympathy for something like that is ridiculous and monstrous.
It's just really sus.
Yeah.
If this is the issue that you feel strongly about, is that we need to sympathize with PDF files. Mm-hmm. And Simu is the exact type of Hollywood elite that I think we're talking about when we talk about Sound of Freedom, and the type of powerful people that are complicit in and looking past this issue.
Wayward Soul is out of pocket in the chat. I got, we can't repeat that one on air.
Okay.
I want to point out a couple of other things going on right now. My favorite was this article from Time that says, we're ignoring the real reason Barbie might dominate at the box office, in which they say the real secret to Barbie's potential box office success has less to do with pink products than its subject and intended audience. Very few movies manage to cater to women without condescending them. They're actually right. They just, what they're not saying is like, what they should be saying is stop making girl boss action movies that no woman actually wants to watch and just make movies for women with pretty colors and dresses and tell stories that women like, because that's stuff women like, just like men like guns, explosions, bombs, and etc. It goes on. In today's fractured movie-going landscape, that remains a rare feat. They're talking about making movies without condescending to women. Even as representation of all types in Hollywood is improving, the kinds of movies in which women stars are stereotypically girly, for better or worse, only 33% of the top 100 grossing films of 2022 featured female protagonists to begin with, and many of those movies slotted into the sorts of genres that typically cater to men. The Women King is a historical action epic. Blech. That happens to star a woman. That's what they've been doing for a decade now. Well, maybe not. Yeah, about a decade, right? They gender swap the character, and they forget that 2 decades ago, when it was a novelty, it was cool to see the female action star. You know, everyone still likes Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. Nobody has a problem with that until you ruined all of these franchises. So they're actually, the funny thing is, these people would agree more with the YouTubers of the world if they all just listened to each other and realized that maybe we can find some common ground here. In this case, maybe you make a Bratz movie next. Maybe make a Bratz movie next.
I don't think that they're capable of admitting defeat. I don't think that admitting that we have some middle ground here is possible.
No. But it's just never going to happen, and they're never going to make more of these movies. And this is on you, ladies. By the way, this is on you, ladies, now to come out to this movie and actually release.
I think they will.
You better come out there, and we'll have to look at the breakdown. They'll be able to tell you the breakdown of what the genders were of the people that came out to. I will be suspicious of just how much the people who come out and say like, I would prefer to not give an answer. Is that going to be one? Because those, I'm just going to count those as women. I'm just lumping those into the category of women, but it's like, this is what happens when you actually make a movie that lines up with what nature and biology and all of human history has told us that we like as human beings, right? You make a big explosion-y movie like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, guys will come out to watch it. You make a flowery pink movie like Barbie, and hopefully the ladies will come out to see it. It's not that difficult. You need to stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Simu Liu used the language in the thing. He goes, it's subversive. I vomit on your subversiveness.
Yeah.
I kick your subversiveness to the curb,
I think,
good sir.
If they continue, I don't know how Barbie is going to turn out. Like, I'm expecting women to come out and support it. And I am expecting to like it because it does seem like, from all the clips, it's the superficial, fun, lighthearted comedy that we wanted. And it's pretty, and, you know, Margot Robbie is a great actress. But if they continue making movies like Barbie, and the marketing for it is all of this woke stuff, I don't really mind. I'm willing to ignore the marketing and just support the movie. Like, just pat them on the head and tell them, yes, it's so subversive and the social commentary is great, honey.
I'm so sick of subversive. Like, it is now, the only way to actually be subversive in Hollywood now is to not subvert.
I'm fine with them thinking it's subversive when it's not. I'm
not
fine with letting them live in their delusion.
No.
As long as the movie is good.
Pluck them on the nose. They do not deserve to live in that delusion. Correct them. Correct them. They do not deserve that. Also,
I mean, as long as the movie is good, what's the harm? In them being insane.
I'm petty.
I mean, they're never going to not be insane.
I'm petty, and I don't want them to be able to live in their delusion there. You also said earlier, you said, yeah, what's with people calling Margot Robbie mid? I agree. What the hell?
This insanely mentally ill discourse going on Twitter about Margot Robbie being mid, which is just like,
ridiculous.
If you think that, your brain is broken. There's no repairing that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really weird. The men are saying that Margot Robbie is a 7 at best, and I'm just so sick of their shit. She's obviously like one of the most attractive women in Hollywood today. And it's like the Jennifer Connelly and Zendaya discourse all over again. Like, no, you did not walk into any Burger King in 1995 and find Jennifer Connelly working at the cashier desk. Like, it's just not, that's not a thing.
There could have been an argument back then that there was less plastic surgery and less,
but
and
plastic
less,
surgery is not that common. It still isn't that common. It's more accessible than it's ever been, but and that's like the trendy look. But when you go out into the real world, you don't actually see that many examples of women with excessive plastic surgery.
Slain Hope says it's clickbait. You took it hook, line, and sinker. No, we understand what it is. I'm bopping them on the nose because they're stupid for making these comments.
I'm still gonna watch and enjoy the movie.
And they absolutely believe what they're saying. I absolutely believe that Simu Liu believes what he's saying because he's been indoctrinated into his weird camp of believing that subversiveness is somehow subversive in Hollywood, which it's not anymore. They don't allow anything normal to get made. The reason Extraction 2 was so incredible is because it's literally just Chris Hemsworth being a badass for 2+ hours. You don't need to subvert expectations. They don't subvert expectations later when we're talking about Mission Impossible, and it's freaking great. By the way, an excellent female character in that movie, and I'm going to go off on that when we get there, but it's just, you don't need to reinvent the wheel every time, and you don't need to do every interview as if you just left some humanities class, and it's stupid. Yeah. They're dumb.
Well, my hopes for Barbie is it's going to be like in the vein of Legally Blonde. It's going to go down as one of those great chick flicks.
Oh, also, by the way, South China Sea. The Philippines is going to allow the Barbie movie, but they want that map blurred out. We talked about this last week. Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to do that without making it super obvious.
They'll find a way. But yes, even in the Barbie movie, there's propaganda everywhere. In the chat, oh my gosh! In the chat, I see a Margot Robbie is a 6 at best.
You better be trolling.
Oh my god! Just okay. That's that's all out of pocket. Let's go to super chats. I can't with these people. With the Margot Robbie is a 6.
Yeah.
Come on.
No. Disco Jensen said, Pop Culture Crisis, episode 404, super chat not found. Yes.
Yes. No, we only do yes for $20 and over, remember?
Yeah.
Oh, there's one right there. Bad Kitty Mama. Yes.
She said, the Margot Robbie debate makes me think of the Hilary Swank debate from The Office and I'm Kelly.
I've also heard people have the same kind of discussions about like Natalie Portman, because there's a time when Natalie Portman was considered the most beautiful woman in Hollywood. A lot of people still believe that, and other people would come in and say, "Oh, like could you just say like she's very pretty, but maybe not the most beautiful woman that ever existed? Maybe there's a middle ground here than saying she's mid."
I think we're just so oversaturated with like images and videos of beautiful women at this point that you don't even register that she actually is that beautiful. And I mean, that's not her fault. She's still a 10. Yep. Sorry.
In the chat, BC says we need a crisis party. I agree. I would love a crisis party. I would also love everybody to please hit the like button on this video. We've got over 900 people watching. We've got 300 likes. Hit the like button, would you please?
Disco Jensen said, woke infiltrated metal. Whose fault is this? Who do I protest? Is it baby metal? I'll bet it's baby metal.
Could be baby metal. Yes.
I think we should ask Phil.
We'll have to get him when he's on the show next. We'll talk about it. Do one more and then we'll move on because I want to talk about Sound of Freedom.
Joe Schmo 32 Electric Boogaloo said, that's why in Jersey you have skilled petroleum distribution engineers pump gas. It's true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here you could just maybe just watch it and not like just walk away from the pump and answer. Like, what would be where, the only way that video could have been worse is if like the gas is pumping everywhere and she's over here making a TikTok like pumping gas, like what I do in a day video.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way that could have been worse. So, all right, let's move on, shall we? Let's talk about Sound of Freedom because so we've talked about the movie. We've talked about Disney burying this, the Sound of Freedom back when they purchased 20th Century Fox. We've talked about all issues regarding the film, whether we're talking about the fact fact that the AC was out, whether we're talking about backlash from people who are saying that it's a QAnon conspiracy theory movie, and all the crap that we read from awful would-be so-called journalists over the last week. Well, now we've got Sound of Freedom viewers saying that they were forced to evacuate the theaters because of fire alarms and other such things. And the CEO of AMC has also come out, and it's actually gotten so big now that he's been forced to comment on this on Twitter.
Yeah, the weirdest one, there have been a few TikToks talking about like the weird circumstances in which people are kind of getting cheated out of watching this movie. The weirdest one to me was the girl who said she was refunded her tickets and she went anyway. And they said that the AC was out only in the theater that Sound of Freedom was showing.
Mm-hmm. And oh, by the way, I was wrong the other day when I said when you said that the marketing budget was so low that they had like tiny pictures of it or like bad quality photos.
Yeah.
It was like a blurry image. Maybe my vision is just so bad now that I just didn't notice.
I thought that was because of their low marketing budget.
It must have been, because when we went to see Mission Impossible last night, I walked by Sound of Freedom and the photo was, you could barely read the words on there.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So let's watch this first one here. I'm going to refresh it. Oh, it's going to probably do the thing where it opens on the website. Hold on. No, here we go.
All over TikTok that people are going to watch the movie The Sound of Freedom, and these weird things are happening, like random emergency evacuations, the air conditioning not working and having to leave the theater. And I thought, no, that's probably just something that's happening in other theaters and other places. So I took me and my daughters to go watch The Sound of Freedom today, and about an hour and 20 minutes into the movie, we get a random emergency evacuation. None of the staff knows what's going on. The mall wasn't being evacuated, just the theater. All they did was refund us our money with no explanation. But I guess you can call me a conspiracy theorist.
Okay, there was also this one.
That one is less sus just because if all of the theaters were getting evacuated, then it was probably not to do with the movie itself.
Yes.
But,
there was this guy here. Let's
It was
if I can refresh this one, start it from scratch.
to go see The Sound of Freedom in theaters on the 4th of July. And we've been to this theater many times. It's always been a pretty good experience. This particular time was really uncomfortable to sit through. There was no AC running. It was unbearably hot. So I go out and I ask if they can turn the AC on, and they told me that it wasn't working. Okay. I bought these tickets online. It showed that the theater was pretty much sold out. There was only a few seats available. When we get there, it's just me, my girlfriend, and maybe 8 other people in the whole theater. I didn't think anything of this until I got on TikTok a few days later, and come to find out that hundreds of other people are experiencing the same thing. So AMC and Regal, the people who own it, are not running AC, and they're making it hard to get tickets. And that should make you want to go see this movie even more.
This guy gets a little bit over the top by the end.
Yeah, he started talking about adrenochrome as well.
He's kind of the perfect example of what I explained. Like you can't just shove that in there, no lube, dude. You have to actually lean in.
Thanks
you have to
for
go.
That very tasteful metaphor, Brett.
Sorry, but like you say this to an average person, and they're just like, Like the funnier story here is if the Sound of Freedom people are the ones sabotaging it to grow the legend of this product being sabotaged.
Well, the evacuation story is what I said would happen if there were people like banding together to sabotage it, just trip the fire alarms.
Yeah. And here is what Adam Aaron he's the CEO of AMC Theaters says. He says, really bizarre. What is FUD?
I don't know.
I don't. Somebody in the chat, does anybody know what FUD stands for? Really bizarre FUD floating around Twitter that we are suppressing attendance for Sound of Freedom. Yesterday, we showed that movie 3,000 times at our 570 U.S. theaters, and more than 100,000 people watched it.
It's fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Okay.
A propaganda tactic used in sales and marketing.
Okay, perfect. Misinformation on Twitter is astonishing. Bots? Haters? But then if you go here to this other article from Bounding Into Comics, they have further words from him down here.
Oh, and there's also another TikTok of another woman who said that her showing was sabotaged in the Bounding Into Comics article, if you want to show that one.
Yeah, I'm going to read the rest of what he says here. He says, let's put this ridiculous conspiracy theory to bed. Friday and Saturday, more than 250,000 people watched Sound of Freedom at AMC in the U.S. Angel Studios head of distribution, quote, no other theater chain in the world has shown more support for Sound of Freedom in Angel Studios than AMC.
And then the co-founder of Angel Studios and the CEO,
Jeffrey Harmon,
both responded, and they said that's true.
Yes. They said, we are so grateful that you stepped up to support this film. Thank you for your partnership. And then here, Jeffrey Harmon says, Adam, I'm a co-founder at Angel Studios, and I want to personally thank you for how amazing of a partner you've been. Many of your managers have reached out to me and personally told me they love what is happening and have worked so hard to bring a great experience to Sound of Freedom fans. Then somebody else pointed out, like where they basically said, YouTuber Coach's Archive responded to Aaron's comment saying, the only thing that he has tweeted about Sound of Freedom is the response to the suppressing and the apparent sabotage. All of the stories that so many people have shared. There's only one thing that he has done. That's the only thing that he's done. And he actually questions whether we are bots or haters. You've got to be kidding me. He mentions that he's praised all the other movies that have been #1 lately, except for Sound of Freedom. I don't know if you can really fault the guy for not saying the right thing about something there. I don't know if that's a fair critique. I do think that it's that calling it bots and haters is a little bit
like
stupid.
there are people who the people talking about this are not haters of the movie. They're the ones who want to see it the most.
Well, he's saying that they're haters of AMC and thinking they're part of the Matrix with Andrew Tate, and they're looking to suppress it.
I wanted to show this other video though.
That's this one right here. Okay, here we go.
How many people?
Oh, that's the part 2 of her story.
Okay,
it's about that one.
So, don't know if any one of you have already been to see The Sound of Freedom, but my friends and I just walked out. Hi. And we are curious what your experiences were in the movie theater, because we pre-ordered our tickets, paid for them, they were claimed, got the link sent, and this is an AMC theater in Pineville, North Carolina. Some point today, the tickets got refunded to my friend and we couldn't figure out why. So we come anyways to the theater after dinner and they're like, oh, well, we refunded all the tickets because there's no air conditioning in our theaters. Okay, whatever, we don't care. Are you still showing it? Yeah, you can still watch it. So we get to thinking, why did they not send out a notice in the email saying, hey, we refunded your tickets because there's no air conditioning, and we just are curious why didn't they let us know? There was no one in that theater. There was us 4 and 4 other people, 8 people in the theater on a Friday night. There was air conditioning in the lobby. There was air conditioning.
Am I missing something? It doesn't sound like the right argument. Like, if they wouldn't, the way to keep people from seeing it to tell them that the air conditioning was out and that they've refunded their tickets. Her argument doesn't make sense to me.
With the evacuation story and the other guy's AC story, they weren't refunded. So that means that Angel Studios is still getting the proceeds from those tickets that were bought that weren't refunded, which means if you're to believe that these things are intentional sabotage, you need to believe it's simply so that less people will watch the movie and like get the message from it. And I just think that's a lot to buy.
I have a hard time. There's a fair argument that could be made that, like, look, I guess if there's like
if Angel Studios is still making the money off of
if
it,
Antifa Annie is popping popcorn at the local AMC's Antifa Annie is popping popcorn there and just decided to stick it to the religious man by stopping people from seeing Sound of Freedom. I did see other reports from other people, although anecdotally telling me that they had problems at their movies that were not this film. It is July. It is extremely hot out.
But it is weird that AC would only be out in the one theater
Yes.
that was showing Sound of
no,
Freedom,
but
and the
no-
rest of the building has it working.
No,
That's weird, right?
The funnier stories, they're like after they found out, like they're like, no, we had scheduled maintenance on on the air conditioning on that unit.
Yeah.
Sorry, the HVAC guy has been supposed to be there
The
for
HVAC
weeks.
guy is actually an Antifa mercenary.
HVAC Antifa, yeah, Antifa HVAC guy is out there to stop them from going there. Here, let's finish what she said.
In the hallways, there was air conditioning in the bathrooms, not the theaters. They don't have the bartender or anything in the theater. I smell something stinky, and I think it's shit.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's the story is more interesting about the fire alarm getting pulled and the evacuation.
Yeah.
That one I buy more.
If there are any evacuations or random incidents where the AC is breaking down at showings of Barbie, though, you're gonna see me making these TikToks. And
She's like, it's a conspiracy.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a conspiracy.
The G.I. Joe industrial complex.
To stop women from seeing the movies they like.
They want you. They no longer want you barefoot, naked, and pregnant in the kitchen. What they want is you watching action movies, watching things you aren't interested in, so that you can be miserable.
It is true they do want women to go like see the Marvels or some stupid action movie like that, which they're not interested in. Yeah. But yeah, you're gonna be seeing me making conspiracy theorist videos about Barbie if this gets sabotaged too.
It's very likely. It could very well end up being true. I just am not sure that I buy it. I just am not sure that I buy it. Also, Jewel, if anybody here is as old as my ancient ass remembers Jewel from the 90s, the singer, she saw Sound of Freedom. She had friends that worked on Sound of Freedom, and she's very angry at people for politicizing this movie. I believe there was another story about her, like we covered something in the winter where she got divorced and was upset about that. But let's listen to what she has to say about it.
You guys, I just saw The Sound of Freedom. You have to see it. I'm so verklempt. Some friends of mine made
Did she look it up that day? She's like, I got to use this in a sentence today.
this movie, and it's been years of it being in production. It's the most inspiring film. Did you know that there are millions of children in slavery? This is the fastest growing criminal enterprise, and the amount of children enslaved right now is greater than all 300 years of the transatlantic slave trade. What the actual F? This is a true story about a man who just doesn't give up on a child. It is so touching. You're gonna love it. Please go see it. This is a little indie movie that it's competing with all of the giant blockbusters, and it's kicking butt, and it deserves it.
Kicking butt.
Go see this to have your heart filled. Love you guys. Take care of your babies.
She hasn't aged a day, ladies and gentlemen. If you look at
Love
pictures,
her sincerity.
If you look at pictures of her from the 90s, she ain't aged a day.
Also, I wanted to show this clip from CNN where they're talking about how this is actually a QAnon movie. Prepare yourself to get angry.
Here we go.
Seem pretty familiar with him because he doesn't really hide his association with this real wild plot that involves, drinking the blood of children and things like that.
No, he doesn't hide it at all. And you have a lot of people who are in this world of QAnon who say, oh, they don't know what that is. They've never heard of it. They're just asking questions. With somebody like Jim Caviezel, he is openly embracing it. He's openly using its catchphrases and its concepts. He's speaking at QAnon conventions. And this film is being marketed to either specific QAnon believers or to people who believe
if
all
I
of this.
remember correctly, Jim Caviezel spoke at something. It was like the Faith, Family, and Freedom Convention. And it was labeled, maybe somebody in the chat can remember what this was.
Doesn't sound like a QAnon convention to me.
I remember there was something where then the actor, wasn't Kevin Alejandro. It was another actor that had worked with him before. Basically, like found out about it and was like, what happened, Jim? You've changed. My goodness. And it was maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
Okay.
And like I said, Caviezel could do a little bit better about where he starts the adrenochrome discussion with the interviewers, because it's not always easy to just drop that in there right there. You got to find a way to fit it into the conversation.
Maybe if you go on Joe Rogan, you can
it's a second date conversation. That's all I'm saying. It's
your second date with Joe Rogan. You can start talking about adrenochrome.
please tell me it was actually called Q-apalooza, because if it was called Q-apalooza, sign me up. Q-Fest 2023, was that? If these are actual things,
Q-Chella.
Q-Chella, sign me up.
The same tenets as QAnon, but claim they don't know what it is.
And The Sound of Freedom does focus on a real issue of sex trafficking. But that theme, it's sort of like that kernel of truth that feeds the QAnon conspiracy theory. Tell us how those two things work together.
Sure, and the most durable and the most believable conspiracy theories are not entirely false. There's something in them that is true, and the rest of it is false. But the believers point to the one true thing, and they say, oh, you don't believe that this particular thing is true. In terms of child trafficking, we know trafficking is real. We know it has real victims. No one is denying that. But
by the way, host of the Rise of QAnon podcast speaking right now.
These films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites.
Boogeyman.
And only people like Tim Ballard and only people like Jim Caviezel, and by extension, only people like the ticket buyer can help bring these trafficking rings down. So there's a very participatory element. You're not just going to see a movie, you're just killing 2 hours on a hot day. You are helping bring down these pedophile rings and save children. Now, it's not true, but it's a very comforting and it's a very warm feeling to
Nobody
have.
who's going to see Sound of Freedom thinks that by buying a ticket, they single-handedly are helping stop child trafficking. I'm sorry, what?
Where is the Jizz Rag Maxwell client list? Like, this isn't a conspiracy, and it's got nothing to do with what this movie is about. The movie has nothing to do with that. It's based on a true story, you scumbag.
Jizz
Like,
Rag Maxwell.
that's the movie has none of that. Everything he just described there has nothing to do with this movie. The movie doesn't talk about any of that. It's a true story with some hyperbole added for dramatic effect, but they show the actual footage of the raids in the movie, you scumbag, who is lying about this. I hate these people.
Decoy Voice responded to that, and he said, well, now I have to go see it, lol.
The quote, no matter how much you think you hate journalists in the media, you do not hate them enough. Yeah. That is, no truer words can be spoken. It's evil.
Even
They're evil.
Jonah Hill agrees. The media is trash.
Like he said it himself. He said they ruined his life. Right? Look, they still like they refuse to admit it. Right? Sorry, Ghislaine Maxwell. That's her name. Right? She's in jail for trafficking nothing to nobody. Because yeah, right? There's documentaries about her up on Hulu and other streaming services. Always really funny, like pictures of her and Epstein. They always use the photos of them with Trump, like in the covers of the things, because they want to paint the narrative a certain way, right? These people are evil. They're evil. They're scumbags.
Anyone can take a picture with anyone.
They're evil. They're scumbags. They notice how they also wouldn't even call it child trafficking. They just called it sex trafficking because they're probably happy it's happening because they're evil.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but they're definitely, for some reason, they have a vested interest in making people think that this isn't a real issue and that it's a conspiracy. And I just wonder, like, who is interested in peddling that narrative? Ryan just sent a super chat. I bought a ticket to Inconvenient Truth. Does that mean I stopped climate change?
Yes, you stopped it.
You single-handedly turned back the thermometers and you helped those polar bears.
It's also, I love the idea, the absolute absurdity of Hollywood talking about moral panics is one of the funniest things I've seen in my entire life. They are all about the white supremacy moral panic of 2023, where everything is white supremacy.
I mean, even the moral panic over what Barbie represents is tantalizing to them. They're obsessed with doing moral panics.
I'm just, they're just awful people. And as far as I'm concerned, the world would be better off not watching these people at all. Unfortunately, part of the job requires us to watch these clips and then me get angry and frustrated, as I tend to do. This is the only thing, like, people, what I've realized is, like, everybody that I work with has a vast, expansive view of different things that they don't always agree on everything. But I think everyone here can agree that the media is evil. The mainstream media is evil, and they will gladly throw away the lives of children to sex traffickers if it means they get to stick it to the conservatives and pluck the QAnon people on the nose. I'm not a QAnon person. I went to this movie. The 80-year-old lady in her walker was certainly probably not a QAnon person. I don't think any of the old people at the movie theater that I went to see this movie with, like any of the old people that were there, I don't think any of them would even know what the hell you were talking about if you mentioned it, you freaking scumbags.
No.
Hate these people. Wow, there's a $20 one there from Francisco Sanchez Jr.
He said, Mary loves that episode 3 of The Last of Us. It's Emmy nominated for Best Writing.
Yeah, we didn't mention that. Yeah, Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett got Oscar noms for their appearance in The Last of Us. Also, the media pointed out that Pedro Pascal and Jenna Ortega both got Emmy noms, not Oscars.
Well,
Emmys.
Pedro Pascal is going to be starring in a similar Brokeback Mountain movie soon. I think with Ethan Hawke.
Brokeback Mountain 2 Electric Boogaloo?
If you liked episode 3 of The Last of Us, make sure you go watch that. Thank you.
It could be called like More Broke, More Mountain. More Broke, More Back, More Mountain.
It's party time.
Let's go to Super Chats, shall we?
Let's do that.
Dark Sauce said, Brett, what happened with the hair? Looks good, kid. Hey, I used to live in Duluth for 20 years. Keep up the clean living, brother. Mary, don't ever change.
30 crisis parties happened, and I had to make good on my bet.
Now, you guys might have thought that Brian was joking when he said he was also going to bleach his hair if you guys met the goal, but he actually did it.
Yep.
The Madman.
The Madman.
And he actually looks great. I didn't expect that. I was expecting something crazy, but
Jessica
it
did
really
great
fits
work.
him well.
Jessica did great work on
Yeah.
that. Yep.
Disco Jensen said, 1K watching. Can we at least get 500 likes?
Can we get there, guys? We're at 381 likes. There's still 845 of you watching.
Yeah.
Do it despite the mainstream
The
media.
Matrix.
The
Matrix is holding us down on pop culture
exactly.
crisis. They don't want you watching this show. They don't want you sharing the show. They don't want you hitting that like button. They don't want you gently tapping the like button.
They're out to get us,
yeah,
man.
the
out
Matrix
to get
is
us.
out to get us.
And
clearly.
they want you creating TikTok accounts.
They're shadow banning us.
And spending money on OnlyFans.
Tom Bombaderp said, women crave attention the way men crave segs. Prawn is to men's desires as Instagram and Twitter are to women's desires. It's only bad when men do it. Well, the thing about that is one is inherently bad and one can be conditionally used badly. So, I mean, if you're using social media in a way that's destructive, then that's bad. But there's no way that you can watch porn in a way that isn't destructive to you.
There's also, I didn't see that one on here. Did we get the one from Sketch Therapy that says here?
Yeah, that's the next one.
Okay.
He said, here is how announcements used to be made. I mean, I get
Here.
that part, Sketch Therapy, but the rest of the super chat didn't make any sense.
Also, Sketch Therapy, I saw your chat where you were saying you wish we'd paid more attention to it, bud. So here's me paying attention to you.
I don't know what
right this second.
What was it supposed to mean? I don't understand it. How am I supposed to react? Slain Hope said, Margot being mid is clickbait, not the interview. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
The interview's clickbait, too.
How does clickbait work with a tweet? You don't make any money off of it.
Yeah.
You just got to be excessively mental. Tom Bombaderp said, Margot Robbie, fake blondes are dime a dozen, winky face.
She's still gorgeous.
Is she actually a fake blonde?
Yes.
I thought she was a real blonde.
She's not a natural blonde, but she's also, she's stunning. She's a beautiful woman. I don't just say that because we share the same birthday. I don't.
True.
I don't just say that. I'm not biased. I promise.
Matt H, I'm not going to read the rest of your username, said, went to Sound of Freedom last night and they were marking the seats as sold even though no one was sitting there.
Could this be tickets that got bought but then nobody showed? Like then they told you they were refunded and then nobody shows up, so they don't want people going to see the movie.
They were showing up to your house and then they were taking your brakes off of your car just so that you couldn't drive to the movie theater to see Sound of Freedom.
Let's hold off on the rest, guys. We are about to get into spoiler territory. I don't know how much of it will be spoiler territory, but we will probably be getting into some, and I know people get very angry when that happens. So we are about to review, I almost said Top Gun again. We are about to review Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, starring Tom Cruise, Ving Rhames, who... I love Ving Rhames in this movie. Haley Atwell with a standout performance. Simon Pegg, Vanessa Kirby, Rebecca Ferguson, S.I. Morales, the whole lot. This movie, guys, was... I can't stress enough. It was so much fun. How did you feel about it, Mary?
I mean, I'm indifferent.
I figured.
It was all right. Like, it was moderately entertaining, but I'm not familiar with the rest of the movies. I hadn't watched the rest of the movies, and you didn't really need to understand what was going on in this one.
Correct.
I just thought, like, 2 hours and 43 minutes to just get the part 1 of a story where, like, at the end they say it's only just the beginning is a little bit like, oh, can't wait to see part 2 in 3 years. Like, I don't know. I didn't really feel that strongly about it. Oh. And I liked Top Gun Maverick way better, just since you mentioned that. It doesn't feel like the same type of movie to me.
In this
feels a little more soulless, a little more mass marketed, but I understand that that's what it's supposed to be. And I didn't expect it to be as, like, detached from reality as it was. Like, I needed to suspend my disbelief on a lot of the ridiculous things in it. I mean, the AI storyline is pretty far-fetched. The suitcase that handcrafts,
that's always been part of it, though.
Silicone, like, hyper-realistic masks.
People going to this movie have already accepted that. They don't have a problem with it. I want to point out, by the way, if you want further proof that entertainment for the sake of entertainment brings people together, the theater was packed, and it was people of all walks of life.
I'm just that turbo autist that sees a scene in a movie and starts questioning everything about it, like how it would be realistic, and I'm not the type of person that would enjoy it. Like, when they showed all of these people who work for the CIA, like, in a room, in a warehouse, like, on typewriters, copying down all of the world's knowledge so that what is it called? The entity can't get to it.
Dude, that was
like,
actually...
How much are they getting paid to transcribe the library of knowledge from the internet?
They did a very similar thing in the show Person of Interest, where the machine, which Harold Finch creates, the machine is an AI that he basically designs that the machine has to essentially destroy itself every night lest it get too powerful and escape. So what the machine does is it starts a company and it pays people to transcribe all of its memories onto an actual database, so that it can, kind of like in the way like mailing something to yourself to prevent your memory from being. It's exactly like that.
There were a lot of derivative parts of the movie that were supposed to be, like,
but they were
deliberate
great.
nods
Look,
to other
okay, the AI explanation is very, very flowery and Hollywood. It is not meant to be realistic. It's fine. It was great. They took they have a lot of the action set pieces borrow heavily in theme from other movies. My favorite being Haley Atwell and Tom Cruise being kind of cuffed together, which I'm sure has been done tons of times, but it immediately reminded me of the movie Tomorrow Never Dies, when Pierce Brosnan and Michelle Yeoh are handcuffed together on the motorcycle. They also, the sub at the beginning of the movie feels very much like the very beginning of that same movie with the stealth sub.
I'm sure Tom Cruise seeing the headlines about the submersible was like,
it was so freaking great.
This is gonna hit a little bit too close to home.
The action scenes in this film are not just visually stunning, they are beyond expertly paced. So there are scenes involving S.I. Morales' character Gabriel that are timed perfectly with Tom Cruise's character trying to escape from this hallway. Guys, I cannot
I'm not sure if it was all expertly timed.
Paced. I said paced, not timed.
Paced,
so
whatever. But like the car chase thing that goes on for like over 20 minutes.
But it's constantly different. It's not just the same thing over and over again.
I know, Brett. Yeah. Calm down.
Go see it.
It's okay. I'm just offering one criticism. You can like Tom Cruise. It's okay.
He wasn't the standout of this movie. Haley Atwell was.
That that car chase scene was it dragged.
The one in Rome or wherever.
Even in Rome.
Yeah.
Although you said it was like changing constantly. Okay, it still was like dragging.
Also in the same, if you noticed, it's in the same location as where they did Fast and the Furious 10.
I didn't know that because I didn't see Fast and
Yeah,
Furious 10.
oh yeah, you weren't here for basically the action, the scene where the car is going down the steps. They do a very similar thing in Fast and the Furious 10 in the same location.
There are just constant
Yeah.
superhuman feats in this movie that make no sense.
They eventually, what they point out here, one of the bad guys points out like that the anti-patriotism ends up being the bad guy. Like they end up he points out, the government official points out to S.I. Morales, he goes, outdated notions of patriotism. And he's very much seen as not a good person, right? So most of this movie is them essentially chasing after a MacGuffin, which is this crucifix key, which is supposed to be able to help them combat the entity. Right?
Yeah.
Right? So it is a MacGuffin.
It's the key. It's not the key to combating it. It's the key to controlling
controlling it. Okay. So, well, I mean, Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt wants to destroy it. Everybody else, all the other governments of the world want to control it.
What is your point about patriotism? Because I thought that it wasn't anti-patriotism, but it was showing that every government had equally sinister interests for wanting control of
But I'm saying they frame a guy, they frame that guy who S.I. Morales ends up taking out. Again, I already said spoilers, guys, as basically saying is like patriotism's dead. And he wants to basically rule the world.
They want a world government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the bad guys.
Yeah.
One world government people are the bad guys.
Globalism bad.
Yes. And to be honest, more than anything, as great as Tom Cruise was in this movie, Haley Atwell is the standout performer in this film. And everybody who made Dial of Destiny should be pissing themselves with embarrassment at how much better they introduced her character than they did on how much better of a job they did introducing Haley Atwell in this film than what they did with Phoebe Waller-Bridge in Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
She was vulnerable. She was strong when she needed to be. She was not perfect in every situation, but she did get the upper hand
It's because
several times.
Her character is uninitiated.
Exactly.
in
She's
the IMF,
treated.
And she has to constantly rely on and trust Tom Cruise's character to like do the heavy lifting.
But she also gets one over on him more than a couple of times.
At the same time, isn't robbed of like the fact that she's incredibly clever and competent.
And Haley Atwell gives this performance, like, it's very, very, like, she feel like there is almost like a funny trope where it's like she's a woman, she can't drive. She's really bad at driving. And I couldn't stop laughing. I'm picturing like 60-year-old Tom Cruise, like, helping the writers. Like, what if she can't drive, guys?
I don't know if it's because Tom Cruise like has so much control over the narrative that like he wouldn't put up with getting Harrison Forded. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes,
like he
absolutely.
wouldn't let Dial of Destiny happen to him.
Exactly.
Why did Harrison Ford let that happen to him? Because he's at a similar.
Because Tom Cruise has more producing power working through Paramount than Harrison Ford.
I would just think
was.
of Harrison Ford as having like the same level of prestige as an actor.
He might care more. He just literally might care more.
Yeah, Tom Cruise just seems to literally care more about the outcomes of his movies and especially about like his characters getting the respect that they deserve.
Yeah. Like, in this thing, like, Harrison Ford might not care whether there gets to be another one of these movies, but Tom Cruise very much clearly does. And what most of the people that have critiques of Indiana Jones or Star Wars or any of these franchises would say is, like, if you put a little bit more thought and a little bit more care into what happens to your characters and how they're treated, maybe you wouldn't have lost the faith of the audiences several years ago, as is proven by the box office returns on Indiana Jones and so many other movies. It's ridiculous. I can't believe how much easier it would be to make a movie like this if they just listened to people and made their movies the way that they can. It's not that difficult. This is not an overly complex story in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, it was a little bit complex, or I guess it was just how far-fetched it was that made it hard for me to follow a little bit, but I'm not good at following stories of like these high-octane action films anyway.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you think could have been improved upon, or any critique that you have?
Yeah. Okay. So I almost felt like the AI story is a bit ridiculous, and
Is it ridiculous in a good way that makes you buy into it even more?
It's fine. I feel like maybe there's a middle ground there where they could have been a little bit more technical in their explanation of the AI aspects to it, but it didn't need it, and it might have taken away from the story. It could become more important to the story in part 2. I thought that they wrapped up the story well. I thought that the fight scene with Rebecca with Ilsa, and with Gabriel was good, but maybe didn't need to end the way that it did.
Why?
So I don't know if it ended up being the call to action that they thought it was
when
in
she
the film.
accepted the mission of joining the IMF.
No,
What are you
Ilsa
talking
is
about?
the not Grace. Ilsa's the one who fought Gabriel on the bridge. So I thought that the ending there was almost unnecessary. Like that he has that same fervor for his job, his friends, and his work.
Just
after
wait.
than he
She's
did
gonna
before.
show up in part 2 anyway.
Yeah. So
she's gonna be alive.
I just I thought that Shea Wiggum's Briggs character, the 2 government agents, was tacked on and didn't need to be there.
Yeah, they seem kind of cornball.
I would have been fine with keeping the Paris character that they used in this movie. I thought she was great. I thought she did a great job. Her pleated skirt was very The Transporter Part 2 to me in a more tasteful way. And I enjoyed
But
that.
there was no real explanation for why she ended up working for what was the name of the character?
Gabriel. Yeah,
there was no explanation for why she ended up working for Gabriel.
No,
or why she was there.
She doesn't really need one. It's almost extensive background if you do that. I don't know if that was really necessary to do that, but I think that the movie focused where it needed to focus. There was more than enough time spent away from Tom Cruise's character. He's not on screen the whole time. I thought there was a good distribution of all the characters except for those 2 government agents. I think if you had actually gotten rid of those 2 characters and left the focus on the Paris character, you could have expanded her story more, because this is a long movie. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes. It doesn't feel that long.
It felt pretty long to me.
It didn't feel that long to me, especially if you like really, really well directed, really, really well paced action. But I think if you had eliminated those 2 characters and just left her character, that could have been better, more expansive, and a better use of their time.
Okay.
So that would have been my critique.
These
for that.
movies just can't get enough of the fighting on top of trains scenes.
Yes.
Have you noticed that?
It's always so funny because it's you imagine on a real train, if you even just bump someone, they're going to go flying off the train. I will say that the few scenes in the movie that had some strained CGI were on top of the train.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of
what about when the train was hanging off the bridge?
That was pretty good. There was some strained CGI anytime they're hanging off the train and moving around. That looks very blue screen or green screen. Yeah. But everything else I thought looked really, really good. The motorcycle stunt that is the most hyped part of this movie is excellently placed. It's very important. It kicks off the most intense part of Act 3, but it doesn't end the movie. I was worried that they were going to end the movie with the motorcycle stunt, which wouldn't have made sense. If why give it away early if you're going to end the movie on that? So I thought it was expertly placed and done. I liked it a lot. I think everyone should go see it. And at the end of the day, it's a brainless blockbuster movie about an artificial intelligence and a MacGuffin that looks like a crucifix that people keep carrying around and pickpocketing off each other. It's literally getting stolen from everybody's pocket constantly. I'm waiting for a dude there to put it in a zippered pocket. That's what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
So I think everyone should go see it. What would you, if you were to rate it? Maybe we should come up with a different rating system.
Oh, other than 10.
Other than out of 10, because I gave Sound of Freedom a 9.5.
I would give this 5.5, but only because I didn't personally like it. I don't think that it's bad.
I'd give it a 9. It's like a 6. If the question is did it achieve what it meant to achieve, then I give it a 9. I think it did a really good job. And I think the ending with Haley Atwell's character, with the character of Grace, and the way that she's essentially initiated into the IMF gives you an ending which is as solid of an ending as you can get when you know this is a part 1 of 2.
If they made you're right that they did a good job introducing her character, but if they were to make like a spin-off that was just about her, I wouldn't watch it.
Yeah, I don't know if she's.
It relies on Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I don't know if she's worthy of a spin-off on her own, but I think it's as expert of a job as you can do to introduce a strong female independent woman that don't need no man, as you can do in today's day and age. And I think other studios should look to this film, look to the way that she was brought in, look to the ways she was allowed to succeed, look at the ways she was allowed to be flawed, to not be perfect, to not have all the answers all the time. When they say that she has to go on the train alone, she's scared. She's reticent. They also make her make choices. There's a hero's journey aspect to it, of course, where when the banking info is transferring, where she has to finally make a choice about what she's going to do and she chooses the right path. It's expertly done. If in the form of storytelling, it's expertly done, and everyone should go see this movie this weekend. So those are my takes on it. So call me crazy. I don't even know if I would call Tom Cruise the best part of this movie. He is one of the best parts, but I was just so shocked at how well they made Haley Atwell's character work that I was a little bit floored. So go see it for Tom, though, if anything, because Tom's the best. So.
He had to put the message at the beginning of the movie that's like, thank you. It's an honor to entertain you.
I think my favorite part of that was like when I was watching the original advertisement where they show the motorcycle stunt, you know, where he base jumps off the cliff with the motorcycle and he lands and he cuts the parachute and he goes, thank you so much to everyone for being here. I'm like, you don't need to thank everyone all the time, but I respect it and I appreciate it. So, all right, guys, we got some super chat. We got a couple of super chats there for the end.
James Ornthal Wen said, Brett, ghetto gaggers, hold my metaphors beer. That was not me. Rina Sawayama said that.
Yes.
And you said you almost thought that the, what was her name? The blonde chick.
Looked a little bit like her,
Looked like Rina Sawayama, but was not.
That actress was great. I hadn't seen anything that she was in other than Guardians. So she was great. It was great to see her. Also, I didn't mention Vanessa Kirby did a serviceably good job as the White Widow, coming back as the White Widow. She actually has more to do in the third act because of the mask.
Yeah.
It's great.
Shane H. Wilder said, did y'all never hear of Q by Southwest?
Oh man, there's got to be a bunch of them.
I'm gonna go to Q-apalooza. Wayward Soul said, Mike from Red Bar said bringing back more tasteful nudity in mainstream films will get men less interested in prawn. I don't think that that's true. And I don't think that there is such a thing as tasteful nudity.
In the chat, Introverted Banshee says PCC needs an official rating system. Think of how big of a crisis is in the movie and the show. I can't do it. We'd have to come up with something. We'd have to spend some time thinking about, like, maybe not numbers, because numbers are so, like, a 7 to me on a Monday might be different from a 7 to me on a Friday.
For me, it's just like my personal opinion of it was it's a good movie, but it's not for me.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. All right, before we go, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? We are at 490 likes, so we're actually almost to 500. Would you please go and do that, guys? Mary, where can they find you?
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on Twitter. That is also Mary Archived. I'm going to ask for recommendations for some sexless TV shows soon. I want to know what TV shows you like. Hopefully newer ones that don't have all of this excessive nudity and sexuality inserted into them.
Okay. All right. Guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Brett Dastovic on both of those platforms. Thank you very much for that. The show is here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you'd like to listen rather than watch, we're on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you'd like to follow the show on social media, we're on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Later.